Hi, this is Kimberly Reuter, business advisor and supply chain expert, and welcome to my podcast, The Morning Mood. On this episode, we have a very special guest, Thorsten from Europe. Thorsten and I worked together at Amazon many years ago, and I am super excited to have him here with me today. And he is going to answer our big question, which is what is his biggest lessons he's learned in life, and how has he applied that to his success? So, Thorsten, before we get started, tell us a little bit about how you got where you are today.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, I'm delighted to be here, right? Um, and hopefully we can come up with some interesting stuff between us,
Yes.
right? So I've spent basically all of my career in transportation, logistics, and so on. Started about like 30 years ago in freight forwarding, and after I found that freight forwarding was not really the most customer centric of businesses, I moved into manufacturing logistics.
Okay. So where
For
did you start with freight forwarding? Where was that when you started in freight
uh,
forwarding?
that was in Scotland.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, wow. Okay.
Scotland for a company aptly named Scottish Express International, who then were bought by an also gone company called Securica Omega Logistics, who were then bought by DHL. Right.
Ah,
So, but I've never actually worked for DHL, but that's the, if you like, the history. So that was
okay.
straightforward,
All
right?
right,
And it
great.
was all about making as much money as possible, telling everyone a lot of stuff that wasn't true, so you could charge a lot of money. And of course, you had no clue where the stuff that you transported actually was.
Uh, yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah.
um, and so not that I'm a visionary, but even then I thought that is just not a great business model, right?
Always been customer centric. That's good.
Yeah. So I then joined a computer manufacturer, also
Okay.
gone, right? And there's nothing to do with me. They're not all gone because I worked, right? Um, so the company was called Compaq Computers.
Oh, I
Um,
remember that. That's way
yeah.
back.
Right. Well, we're showing our age. And they then were bought over by Hewlett Packard, right?
hmm
Well, I did like almost like 9 years or so, and I built up the transportation network for Europe for Compaq, and there was a lot of focus at that time, like cost reduction. So I did reduce a lot of cost. Um, and then, to be honest with you, so the Compaq way of working, I really much suited me. I was a lot of like, let's go do this. We can come up with something new and so on. And the Hewlett Packard way was really much different. It was more along the lines of, this is how we do it. This is how we always did it. And this is how you will do it going forward. And so I left, because actually, a colleague of mine, he was looking to leave also. And I said, hey, Thorsten, I found this job advert from Amazon, and it really reads like your CV. They're looking for a German speaker. And bear in mind, I was still in Scotland. There weren't that many German speakers in Scotland at that time, for sure. Right. Background in freight forwarding and transport and so on. And so I thought kind of that really read like my CV. So I said, I have to apply for this, for this job, which I did. Um, all my family and friends said like, Don't do it, Amazon,
Really?
that will," yeah, they said, "I will never work," right? That was a time like when you had like this, on Time Magazine, this, I think, famous caricature of Bezos, and it was Amazon.bomb,
Yep.
right?
So what
Uh,
year
so
was
that
this, by the way?
that's a good question. So that would have been in what, 2004-ish,
Yeah, I
something
think
like.
that's about right. Yeah, because you started about a year before I did. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. So Yeah, so we kind of, and really, it's funny to think about that now. Everyone at the time was like, "This can't work." Like, why
Right.
would people want to buy stuff on the internet, right?
So
That's also, it's frightening how wrong you can be, right?
right.
Um, yeah, so I was interviewed very, very thoroughly, as Amazon do, and I got the job, right?
Yeah. So
And
this is now, where were you? Was this in the Luxembourg office, or where was this
no, no, no,
office?
that was in Scotland. Believe it or
Okay.
not, the Amazon operations headquarters were in Scotland
Okay.
at the time, right?
Okay.
I
Oh,
was,
yeah, back then
was
before
just,
they opened the Lux office. Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It was just one floor
Yep.
in then Scotland, and only, yeah, or second UK fulfillment center that Amazon had, right? So we were a team of like 10.
Yes.
That was that was Amazon transportation,
Yeah.
right?
So
10,
just to recap
right?
this, Amazon transportation, 10 people,
Yes.
2004 for
Yeah.
all of Europe, right?
Yeah, for all of Europe. And I
Yeah.
remember, like, in the run up to Christmas, I got contacted by the VP, Ralph Kleber.
Yeah.
His contacted by his team in Germany and say, "Hey, Thorsten, we want to sell televisions. So can you give us a solution to ship something other than a book or a DVD?" Right? And that was the first, actually, at least in Europe, right? I was like, oh, of course, Amazon was all books and DVDs, right? Put it in an envelope, give it to Royal Mail or the Deutsche Post, and they'll take care of the
See
rest,
you later.
right?
Yeah. Well,
And
yeah.
so,
It's
like,
all,
so,
everything
hey,
fit in a bread box. Yep.
yeah, exactly. And they said, "Hey, Thorsten, we need something. We want to ship televisions for Christmas." Right. So I came up with a solution to ship television for Christmas, right? Um, and that was the kind of company Amazon, well, I say was because I don't know whether they still are or not, because obviously
Yeah.
I left Amazon a while ago, right? But it was all about this, yes, we can do stuff. And importantly, we need to do it now, right?
Yes.
And it's a lesson that's not an Amazon lesson per se, but so my mantra, because you want to do is my mantra, like in how I live professional life, is just it's don't wait,
Yeah.
right? Because as a business or even like in a personal life, I'm a strong believer, and you'll just be punished, right? Because you'll miss a trick, you'll miss the board, or you miss whatever, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's good to do something that is maybe imperfect,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Um, but to get started, because you'll be able to learn and
Yep.
perfect and so on. If you
Yep.
just wait until you have the perfect solution, or the market tells you that all of your competition actually have a solution already, then it's
Yeah.
just too late, right?
Yeah.
And that's where I've always been then pushing for to get stuff done, to innovate and so on. And if it's not perfect, then okay, fine, but you
It's
can learn
okay.
and
Yeah.
right.
So that was, I wanna
So
hear the rest of your career before we jump
yeah,
into your biggest, but yes, I agree with you. That was one of the things I loved most about Amazon, is that everything had to be delivered yesterday. It was already a problem. And the other thing, and you touched on this already about being customer centric, is that Amazon wasn't just about, you have to deliver this yesterday. You also have to make the customer happy. You cannot put something in place that was subpar from a customer experience. Now, you may have to stay up for 3.5 weeks straight to make sure it works, but as long as your customer was happy, that was a-okay.
yeah,
Was that your
absolutely.
experience too?
Yeah, definitely, right. And so sorry, I digressed from what I did. So
No. Well,
joined Amazon.
you have such an interesting career path, so I wanna make sure we capture all that.
Well, sure.
And you being who you are, you like to jump ahead. So go back. We're at Amazon. So how long did you stay at Amazon?
Well, it's just, as I said, I don't wait. right? So yeah, so Amazon, right? So Amazon was almost 10 years,
Okay.
and I have to say one of the best, if not the best, experience in my career.
Yeah.
But after almost 10 years, again, it was time for me
Oh, yeah.
to move on, right?
Yeah. Can we talk about
Uh,
the Lux office though, real quick before we get off? Because I love the Luxembourg office. So when did you end up moving to Luxembourg?
oh yeah, yeah. Of course, at some point, Amazon, I don't know who at Amazon, somewhere, someone certainly in Seattle that said, look, you cannot have the headquarters of Amazon operations on the second floor of a fulfillment center. We need to grow. And obviously, well, Scotland is not, it's
And
beautiful, but it's not the
yeah,
center of Europe,
it's not center of
right?
Europe. And there's also some
Um,
tax benefits to Luxembourg, by the way.
but it's not, none what's, and no one moves to Luxembourg for tax.
No one does
Uh,
business in Luxembourg because of taxes.
Um, yeah, so it was decided there had to be a big Amazon operations office running all the fulfillment centers, transportation, logistics, which had grown massively by that time. It
Mhm.
was decided to move that or open that in Luxembourg.
Mhm.
And so obviously the senior management then needed to be in Luxembourg, and I was one
Yeah.
of the senior management. That office started with 29 people.
Yes.
Oh, there's a couple of thousand now, right? But it started with 29 because I remember when everyone was about like to go home for Christmas, for the Christmas break, uh, the then VP operations Europe, Alan Lyle, right?
Yep.
He, he invited everyone to the reception desk to have a glass of champagne before
And you all
breaking.
fit.
Yeah, right. And we were 29 people. This
Yeah.
is that
So
was the office.
that office was super cool because,
Yeah.
it was an old brewery, right? From, like, the 15 or 1600s?
I'm not sure about the brewery, but I was in is in a very picturesque,
Yeah,
quaint, old part of Luxembourg.
Luxembourg. It was super
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah.
It
Very,
was
very
great, yeah. My favorite headquarters was Luxembourg. More Michelin star restaurants in Luxembourg than I think any other country in the world, so if
at
you're a
the time.
foodie, it's the
Yeah.
place to
Yeah.
be. Alright, alright, so Amazon, 10 years, and then what happened?
I just you know what? To to be honest with you, so I needed a change. Um, and Amazon is a tough job, right?
Oh, hell yeah.
Right? So, and 10 years of that, right? So I remember I had years where I had like, I remember the year where I had the most flights. Not that that is an indicator of how productive anyone is, but anyway, I had like 120 flights in 1 year,
Yeah,
right? So, and even that, right? So at times I felt like I was proud that I could actually function despite being tired. So
yeah,
that was
it
the
was very stressful.
right. So no, I really needed something else.
Mhm.
Uh, and I was headhunted by eBay.
Oh,
So that made then the decision to leave Amazon quite easy.
mhm.
Nevertheless, it was the wrong decision because eBay wasn't what I thought it would be. Right. So that was a short stint, like of I think a year and a half or something like that.
Yeah,
Right. And then I thought like, so since more or less all my career I'd worked for big corporate, um,
yeah,
where on the one hand, yeah, you can learn an awful lot and you have lots of opportunities and so on. But okay, big corporate is big corporate. And that's when I decided to, if you like, go alone as an, well, actually, I don't like the word consultant. I call myself a
advisor.
resultant. Not,
Result.
I think resulting is better than consulting. Right? So, no, and that actually, so I if you want just a fancy PowerPoint with lots of good advice, then I'm probably not
Yeah,
um, the right person. if you have a problem or you need to innovate or so, and you want results, then I'm probably the
Yeah.
right guy to contact,
Yeah,
right?
you and I have had a similar path, and I consult in the same way you do. I agree. It's the con part of consultant that bothers me.
Yeah,
Um, so advisor is what, and I think it's actually more accurate to what I do. And I think it's more accurate to what you do as well. We're more advisors than we are project leaders.
yeah,
But I also hate PowerPoint, and I think that's an Amazon thing as well.
yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I've had
Yeah,
lots of teams getting blank stares from lots of teams I've led since. And I say, I
yeah,
don't want a PowerPoint, write me a page.
yeah.
So you actually need to think about what you're saying and
Yeah.
so on. And,
They don't want to do
right.
that.
So yeah, that's where I get the stare of like, oh, the Amazon guys, they're all crazy.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
So,
People
right.
cringe now. When I walk in, they're like, "Oh shit, they got her."
Right.
I'm like, "Yeah, we're gonna do some stuff now." All right. So, big question, and you've already touched on this a little bit. Your biggest life lesson and how you apply it to your success.
Yeah. Yeah. So I said it earlier. I said it's really biggest lesson is don't wait. Right.
Yeah.
And there's lots of, if you like, synonyms for that. It's gonna fail fast and innovate and so on and all that. But I learned, especially since I am resultant, working with companies, that there usually are a lot of people with really great ideas and they want to
Mhm.
try things, right? Because I believe um, that deep inside most, if you like, human beings, they want to get on, they want to try some different, they want to have success, etc.,
Yes.
etc. So that's all there. But I think many companies or corporate cultures, right, do a really great job to destroy that almost, right? Or
Yes.
keep it under wraps. As in, yeah, you can innovate, but please innovate following our bureaucratic processes. You can innovate, but be aware if you make a mistake, you will carry the consequences and so on. So it's suppressed
Yeah.
often, and some yeah. So I've seen that. I've seen that a lot, right? And then I've seen the consequences of that, right? So I've been through a number of different industries or worked with a number of different industries since, right? So on one industry actually being the ferry industry, right?
Yeah.
Rural ferries, right? And when I first got involved in that, kind of, I was like, I couldn't believe it. Like they were working some of the companies, right? Some, just in case someone from the ferry industry is listening, uh, some of the companies they work with systems that are 30 years old,
Oh. Oh, I
right?
can't tell you how many big companies that I have walked into. Big companies, big international brands, right? That anybody would recognize if I said them. I can't. Um, and I'm like, "What the hell is going on here? You're running a multi-billion-dollar supply chain with a 42-page Excel spreadsheet." And they have no idea what's going on. They have no software, no systems. They actually budget for losing and unexpected charges. They actually bake that into their budgets. It shocks me. So go ahead. I'm very
Yeah,
obviously
right.
that gets me fired up.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. And then there was for a while, there was this kind of this the answer to everything would be digitizing,
Oh,
right?
right, right.
Right. So yeah, digitizing, right, which is great, right? Because it makes everything faster. And so if your processes and your data is rubbish, you get
Right.
rubbish data and bad processes faster,
Yep.
right? Uh,
You just
wha-
screw up faster is all you do, you
yeah,
know?
exactly. That's what happens, right? Um, and it's a little bit like now with AI, right?
Right.
So people
Yes.
say, well, we absolutely need AI, right? So and my answer to that often, not quite as direct. depending on who I'm talking to, but my answer is often is, "That's brilliant. Then you can automate all your mistakes."
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And you don't even have to make them yourself. So you make them faster, don't have to do it yourself, and it's brilliant. It's a race to the bottom, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And we will
So
have a
so
deeper
that's
conversation about AI because AI and supply chain is like a hot topic right now. And you and I will have another conversation about this because I would love to go deep on this one with you. Um and I think we may be in the same boat. Like, don't use a wrench when you can a hammer will work, right?
yeah, I'm absolutely, right? And that's where then um, people were running or AI or digitizing. I think that there they don't want to wait, right? But I
Right.
think there's also don't wait to attack the really nasty, ugly, and difficult stuff, right?
Yes.
So AI is great, yeah.
Yeah.
Digitize also great, but you need to fix what's underlying,
Right.
right?
It's not
And
magic.
that's all. It's often it's not sexy,
No.
um, and that's where people do it, right? And then you really end up with a baggage of 30 years of bull.
Yeah.
And to fix something like that is horrendously difficult,
It's
right?
very
Horrendous.
difficult. It is.
Yeah.
And I'm shocked. I am constantly shocked about organizations that just wait and wait and wait and wait and wait until it becomes a dumpster fire. And then they decide to fix it. And but then there's the heroics that go with it and all that kind of stuff. But there are problems that 10 years ago, if you'd been thinking about this, you would not be in the position you're in. They wait until they start to lose money. And that's you're already past it.
Yeah.
Yes. So great advice. So just to recap on Torsten's biggest lesson is don't wait. And you have a great German saying that goes with that if you'd like to share it.
Anyone listening in from Germany, they will recognize it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is, and well, now to the next industry where people have waited an awful long time. That's automotive,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And it's also, let's say, it varies from horrendous to amusing. What you hear sometimes, like some car companies actually not knowing where the cars are, right?
Just floors me to no end.
And so like, so we lost 10 of those. We don't know where they are, but hey, right?
And they
And
budget for it. So back to my like it's
that's
crazy
and
to
that's
me. Like they budget for it. They're like, we're gonna fuck up. So we're just gonna admit it now.
right. So that's where coming from freight forwarding, it was bad enough if you lost a box or
Oh
a
yeah.
pallet,
Oh yeah.
right? But when I first heard that someone said like, "Yeah, we lost 5 of those cars." Cars by definition are fairly big, bigger than a pallet or a box, and value is obviously far greater as well, right? So now I'm working in the area to I feel like, well, introduce real visibility,
Yeah. Real
right?
visibility to what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And back to don't wait in a way where you don't, as a user of that technology, where you do not have to rally 100 strong tech team, work
Yes.
on an implementation plan for a year, and then an implementation for half a year. So it's a way of making that happen really, really fast.
Yes.
And I find that, yeah. By the way, the company is called Venturas, right? Um, and yeah, it's a really cool way to get real visibility
Yeah.
without spending 1 million on a 2 year
Oh yeah.
implementation.
I don't do so as a rule for me for supply chain and when I'm advising, I don't do any implementations that take longer than 3 months. Like you should be able to put a new supply chain software and process in place in 6 months or less. That
Yeah,
goes for everybody.
yeah, because otherwise you've waited already too long. We've seen in recent months like how quickly supply chain can
Changes.
move,
Yeah.
change it,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, so if anyone started to whatever to implement a new program from last year, whatever November, December,
It's
then
already
they'll be building a new one now, right?
it's
Because it's
already
all
outdated. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I agree. It's already outdated. 18-month implementations are dead. if you're talking to a company who's talking about 18-month implementation, you need to rethink. Like, unless
Like,
it's a complete breakdown overhaul of the entire thing, and it's to your point, it's too long. I worked with a company once that was doing a big implementation for a huge ERP, huge company, and they had been at it for 5 years. And I was like, at this point, like, just burn it and start over. Like, it's like, you're not even getting the most recent software at this point. So why are we even yeah, it's and at that point, it really was delaying it. At that point, it was all the patches that we had to put in place, because of course it had to be customized. So, but another great topic for you and I to talk about too is customization of software, because I know we have opinions on that. But we are over our time, Torsten. I promised 20 minutes and
all
we were at 27. So thank you. You will be back. I am excited to have more of your experience here on the Morning Mood. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for sharing your life lesson and how you've applied it to your success. And to my audience, thank you for joining us today, and we will talk to you tomorrow.
thanks for having me.